Hi everyone, it's me, Miss Jenny, and today we are reading Chapter 14 in the Super Mario Brothers, the movie, junior novelization from the 1990s. Ooh, If you have been on this journey with me this entire time, thank you. I appreciate it. We are almost done. It's only taken me about 2 years, but we're almost there. So let's talk about what happened last time. In chapter 13, we watched as the Brooklyn girls were broken out of confinement by Mario and taken out of that dimension and crossed through the doobly-doo. We saw that Luigi and Daisy were captured but got away, and Mario went to face off with Koopa in his little square. Oh, and Lena died. That was sad. I liked her. As the chapter started to end, something was happening to make everything around them swirl and twirl and dissolve, because the dimensions were merging together. Ooh. And that's where we left off. It was such a cliffhanger. Let's dive in to chapter 14. Back at the Scapelli excavation site, Daniela and the Brooklyn girls had already called the newspapers. Okay, so the newspapers were like print versions of the internet articles. Sorry, I'm just being cheeky. Now they were surrounded by newspaper reporters and radio and TV crews from all the major stations. Even a fan from Our Miraculous World was there. That's the show that they were watching in the very beginning. Do you remember? You say you were kidnapped and taken to a dinosaur world? Said a skeptical reporter. That's correct, Angelica said. And you were rescued by plumbers? A reporter asked, his voice getting more and more skeptical as he went on. Not just any plumbers, Daniela informed them. The Mario brothers. Nearby, Anthony Scapelli shook his head and turned to one of his associates. Those guys will do anything for publicity. The reporters and TV crews were shaking their heads too. Let's go, one irritated reporter said. We're wasting our time here. They turned back to their vans and came face to face with a group of bewildered Goombas who just kind of materialized. What the? Shouted a confused reporter. The air around began to shimmer. Look, Daniela shouted. She pointed across the river to Manhattan, where the 2 World Trade Center towers were turning into the Koopa Towers. Then suddenly, Koopa and Mario materialized in the air above the excavation site and fell with a thump. At the sight of the Goombas, the other TV crews scattered. Only the guys from Our Miraculous World were getting it on tape, because they know what's up. That's him, the Brooklyn girl shouted, pointing at Mario. He's the guy who rescued us. Hey, Mario! Daniela rushed towards Mario, but she wasn't alone. Anthony Scapelli was right behind her. There was no way that he was going to allow Mario to get all this free publicity. Meanwhile, Koopa looked around delighted. Finally, the mammal world was his. He grabbed a Devo gun from the nearest Goomba. "Welcome to my world," he shouted with glee as his finger closed around the trigger. "And goodbye." Koopa fired at Mario, but he managed to duck out of the way. The blast hit Scapelli, who was instantly transformed into a chimpanzee in a fancy suit. Okay, so he was wearing the fancy suit to begin with, so he was just turned into a chimpanzee, just wearing the same fancy suit that he was wearing before, just to clarify. It's pretty funny. Mario reached into his tool belt and pulled out the mushroom. "Trust the fungus," he shouted. Koopa fired at him again, but the mushroom absorbed the beam and de-evolved into a giant, more primitive mushroom. It's interesting. Mario threw it like a frisbee and knocked Koopa's gun into the excavation pit. A second later, Mario and the Lizard King rolled around on the ground, locked in mortal hand-to-hand combat. Back in the meteor chamber, Luigi was making a makeshift lever to pull the meteorite piece back out. Using Mario's tools, he attached a wheel puller to the meteorite piece, extended it with a small pipe, and then added a large wrench to help with leverage. Sweating and straining, he and Daisy pulled as hard as they could. The reverberating noise grew louder. "It's working!" Daisy shouted. With a final desperate tug, the meteorite piece popped out of the meteor. Daisy grabbed it. "Come on!" she shouted. Okay, we're jumping back. Okay. Back and forth. Here we go. Mario and Koopa were wrestling for the Devo gun when they suddenly shimmered away again, but this time reappearing in Koopa's square along with the Goombas. "Don't just stand there, you pea-brained morons!" screamed Koopa. But instead of coming to his aid, the Goombas began, most unexpectedly, to dance. His face contorted with anger. Koopa looked around and saw the Goomba who was once Toad playing the harmonica. Was Toad known for playing the harmonica in any other context besides this movie? Let me know in the commentos below. The Lizard King filled with fury, and as he did, he began to regress. Within moments, he was half man and half Tyrannosaurus Rex. He grabbed another Goomba's gun and aimed it at Mario. This time, he wasn't going to miss. But the forgotten bomb had begun to fizzle beneath them. Do you guys remember, in the other chapter, there was a bomb and Mario put it on the ground and it fell in a crack? Well, that bomb's still been bombing away, just doing its little I'm gonna wait to explode thing. Yeah, surprise. Kablam! The bomb exploded. Koopa was blown into the air and he landed back in that bucket. He struggled to his feet and once again aimed his weapon at Mario. Boy cannot catch a break. "Mario!" Luigi shouted as he and Daisy burst out of the subway tunnel. Luigi grabbed a Devo gun from one of the dancing Goombas and threw it to Mario, who spun around and fired the gun at Koopa. "See you later, alligator." Come on, Mario. Really? That's what we're going with? Okay. "See you later, alligator," Mario shouted triumphantly as the Devo beam hit Koopa and knocked him back into his bucket. Suddenly, there was silence. Mario and the others crept cautiously towards the bucket. Had they made Koopa into goo? They were only a few feet away when a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex leapt up, snapping its mammoth jaw and almost taking Mario's head off. Terrified, Mario and the others leapt back and grabbed Devo guns. Firing all at once, the Devo beams converged and the terrible dinosaur began to shrink. Teetering on the edge of the bucket, it lost its grip and began to fall. It was de-evolving into a smaller lizard, then a fish, then an invertebrate, then algae, and finally slime. Splat! The slime splattered into the street and was run over by a car. What a random way to go. All around Koopa's square, a cheer went up. Goombas began to dance more wildly with joy. Mario, Daisy, and Luigi hugged each other. Suddenly, someone gasped. The fungus! Mario and the others looked around. It's disappearing, Luigi shouted. All over the square, the fungus receded, pulling itself backwards, disappearing into cracks. Splash! The dried-out, fungus-clogged fountain nearby gushed to life. Luigi closed his hand around Daisy's. Come on, he said. Let's go home. But Daisy stopped him. I can't, she stammered, pulling her hand back. What do you mean? Luigi asked. I can't go back yet, Daisy said. Luigi turned towards her and gazed intensely into her eyes. But Daisy, you know how I feel about you. Even if I don't know how to say it exactly right, I mean, I want to be with you. Okay, before I move on, they have been together for like 2 hours. It's a very Disney princess of you, Luigi. It is. I don't hate you for it. I'm just pointing it out. Anyway, you've got to go home, Daisy said, with tears welling up in her eyes. And I have to. Look, what she's trying to say is she loves you, Mario said impatiently. But she's got to stay here until she really knows where she belongs. And if you love her, you'll understand and you'll leave now before your brother strangles you. It's not what I thought that sentence was going to end with. Mario walked away. Luigi stared back at Daisy, asking with his eyes if his brother was right. Daisy nodded silently. Luigi felt his heart begin to crack as he took Daisy into his arms and kissed her for what might be the very last time. Did they kiss before? Isn't this just their first and last kiss? Unless I missed something. Maybe they did kiss before. I don't know. I'm rambling now because that was the last sentence of this chapter. Oh my god. Ending on a steamy kiss. Steamy goodbye kiss. Oh, tragic. Guys, that was the end of the chapter. They defeated Koopa. They turned him into slime and he got run over by a car. All of that for that. And Daisy and Luigi love each other, apparently. But Daisy's gonna stay and Mario is dragging Luigi back to their world. But they ended in embrace and kissed, and hopefully everything will work out for them. Who knows? There is one more chapter to go. And spoiler alert, it's like a couple pages. So I don't know what's going to happen because I know how the movie ends. But I don't know how this interpretation in the junior novelization ends. So, Pins and needles, my friends. Pins and needles. Join me, Miss Jenny, next time for another story time to see how this book ends. Who knows what's going to happen? Is Yoshi okay? We haven't seen him in a bit. Huh. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.